Well, do you want to start it, or do you want me to start it?
We're on.
Well, are you going to post this later, or are we just on?
We're on right now, baby.
Well, and obviously in an interest of keeping the crew small, Brandon is actually directing from the set. We actually remoted our...
So this thing right here, this board in front of me is our switcher, and you could kind of see I'm cutting the cameras. We have 6 cameras in this room. Obviously you can see the big room. Let's cut to that big wide shot. There's that wide shot. Hello.
Go to camera 5.
There's camera 5.
And even though that camera is moving, it's not manned. It's actually on a little slider, an automatic slider system. So we're using technology to its utmost.
Well, here, the title of this video is Your Church Streaming Sucks.
Oh, great.
And the reason...
Well, it doesn't all suck.
It doesn't all suck, but the reason why you and I are even here is because we've seen a lot of really great church media, and but we've also seen a lot of really bad church media. And I think that we're here to help some of the bad be better. And I feel like what's happened is that we're living in the age of coronavirus, and a lot of pastors who weren't video creators or doing media before this happened are now being forced into doing that.
Correct.
So you have a lot of uneducated people that are doing media, and they're doing it really poorly.
Well, exactly. And there was a meme going around that we didn't want your media to look like a bunch of Osama bin Laden K videos. And unfortunately, many of them were. But a little background on myself. Obviously, Paul Crouch Jr. grew up at TBN, grew up in the media. Brandon grew up even more in the media, even from your earliest days. You remember TV studios and...
I mean, dragging your cameras behind me as a 2- and 3-year-old, watering your cameras one time.
Yeah, I had a $70,000 Ikegami camera in a bag, and I found Brandon with the garden hose, and he was pouring water all over my $70,000 camera.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, at a 3-year-old. But we've grown up in this and been around it a lot, but today, you know, I personally am doing a lot of consulting with churches. I'm producing several shows. You're directing for many of the big churches here in Southern California, like?
Yeah, I've directed, well, here I have to cut my camera with no crew. Yeah, I mean, I have directed for Mariners Church here in the area, Cottonwood Church. I'm also the live video director and oversee all video at the Greek Theater in LA. So I've kind of become a live event director, kind of really out of necessity with you, learned that from TBN, from you, and then kind of bridged the gap between live events, film, and then the post-production world of editing now, and kind of learned that out of necessity as well. So everything that I've learned has really been out of necessity. It's been, hey, let's figure this out, we need to do this, and let's do it. No real formal education besides YouTube videos and lynda.com and a couple other different resources and stuff like that.
Well, and growing up in it, growing up, you know, you learn a lot through osmosis when you grow
100%.
up in studios. So, and you know, we've both taken advantage of that. But like I said, if your church isn't doing streaming right now, I bet they wish they were, because this is an unprecedented time. I mean, I'm 60 years old, so I remember, you know, the Vietnam War. I remember many of the stock market crashes. I remember 9/11. I remember Y2K. And this COVID-19 pandemic is a different animal. And I have never in my lifetime seen the churches shut down like they are, the social distancing, even though we have dealt with other viruses in the past. But the church must go on. The church will go on. The Church of Jesus Christ has survived the Crusades. It has survived the Roman Empire. It has survived things much more pandemic than this, I promise you. But as a church, what are you doing to get your message out? What are you doing to get the word out? Like I said, if you aren't doing media now, I bet you wish you were. And the problem is, Brandon, I think you're seeing it, is a lot of churches are jumping into this last minute or out of crisis mode.
100%.
And they're calling Amazon, they're calling and getting a GoPro camera and they're plugging it into their computer.
Yeah.
They're doing whatever they can do to get online to continue to reach an audience.
Yeah.
And that's not always the best solution. Those that
Yeah.
plan ahead, I think, have an advantage. But what, in your opinion, are some of the best churches doing some of the best streaming?
I mean, some of the best churches that are doing some of the best streaming, in my opinion, are Elevation Church with Stephen Furtick's doing a really good job. My church, Mariners Church, is doing a really good job. Saddleback, obviously. But all of these churches have been prepared for years and have been preparing and investing in this for decades. I mean, this is not a new phenomenon. I had a couple friends of mine went to Stephen Furtick's church.
Go to this real quick
Okay.
as you're talking.
Went to Stephen Furtick's church, tell me that it's a big television program, and their focus as a church, by and large, is the video audience. The audience, not the 3,000 people in the room, it's the 30,000, 3 million people watching online, later streaming podcasts, YouTube. I mean, every single platform that you can think of. They're on Snapchat, they're on Instagram stories, they're just everywhere. And so, but they've been doing this for years. This is not something new. So this pandemic was not a crisis mode for them. This was regular operating procedure.
Right.
But with that being said, coming back to us, this is forcing churches to stream, whether
Right.
they like it or not. And a lot of churches, I think, you can comment on this too, is why do you think a lot of churches just didn't get into it? I think a lot of people were intimidated by it, maybe, the cost of it. I think people are thinking, oh, I need, $1 million just to do live video gear or even really get into it. And I feel like there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of churches in the 500 people to 1,500 people range that really hadn't touched media up until now.
I agree. In fact, you don't remember, but 5 minutes from here, right down Harbor Boulevard, from this studio, Brennan and I are actually in our beautiful new studio here in Anaheim, there was a mega church called Melody Land Christian Center. It was pastored by Ralph Wilkerson. Many of you will remember that name, and he was actually, I think, a cousin or a brother of David Wilkerson, and the same family bloodline as Richie Wilkerson and some of them. But Melody Land Christian Center was actually one of the first churches that I knew of, them and the Crystal Cathedral, that had television cameras in their church. And they would film their services for broadcast, for use later. But in those days, like you said, to get a decent 3, 4, 5 camera system, you were talking $1 million, $2 million, $3 million investment.
Yeah.
And the Crystal Cathedral, which is literally right over here, they were filming their services in the 70s and 80s. Ralph Wilkerson at Melody Land was, but it was not within the realm of most medium to small churches at all because of cost.
Yeah.
Well, I can promise you that has changed.
Yeah.
In the last 40 years, as you know, the cost of equipment has come down, the accessibility is second to none. This little switcher that you're looking at here that Brandon's cutting on, 10, 15 years ago would have been $100,000, $200,000, $300,000.
Easy.
This switcher was $2,500.
Yeah.
$3,000.
Yeah.
So well within the range and the budget of, again, most churches.
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, cost was a fear, and vision. And here's the bigger issue, and this is what I deal with churches now. Your pastor, your leaders must have a vision for television. They must have a vision for media. Many many do not have that. Many are focused on, the people sitting in front of them. Many are more concerned about the bodies in the pews than they are the multitudes. And that's okay. I'm not saying that there's any right or wrong decision here, but I know your grandfather, my father, was dominated by one scripture, and it was Mark 16:15, which was very simply, go into all the world and preach the gospel. And we knew that we couldn't do that through, horse and buggy. We couldn't do it through literature. We couldn't do it through getting on airplanes and traveling around the world. To reach the world, we really did have to use the media.
Yeah.
We had to use broadcasting, television, but now the internet has changed everything.
Yeah.
The internet has made broadcasting and distribution of media the wild, wild west all over again.
I mean, we're broadcasting on Facebook for free right now.
Correct.
And there's, 7,000 people that are subscribed to my channel.
Right.
Another 5 to yours. And I think that over the years, I mean, as the internet's progressed, it's forced people like Stephen Furtick, Joyce Meyer, to realize that they can bypass the key holders, which used to be the TBNs and the Daystars. I mean,
Right.
they have their own audience and they can go directly to the well.
Right.
And so the internet today for churches in the age of coronavirus, you have 500 people that go to your church. There's no reason why you shouldn't be doing video on a daily, if not a weekly basis, reaching those 500 people, connecting local communities. And I think that that's what's happening is the internet, while getting bigger, is making things smaller.
Correct.
And I feel like our communities are still small. There's still one-to-one contact. There's still one-on-one FaceTime time. And I feel like we can still achieve that through media. And I think that that's kind of while there's millions of people in the United States, there's, communities are small, but it is the wild, wild west, and you can have a huge audience.
Yeah. Well, I did an article really about 3 or 4 months ago, and
Here it is.
yeah, let's go to the computer. It's on Charisma News. If you just Google Paul Crouch Jr., Reach Our Lost Generation, or streaming or something like that, it'll actually pop up. This one happens to be on Charisma News with Charisma Magazine. But to reach our lost generation, pastors must be willing to embrace these 3 trends. Now, I'm not going to read this. I'll let you go to it directly. But there's really 3 levels of television that churches are dealing with today, and I address that in this article. Really the 3 main points, and if you want to come back to me, since it's
Yep.
just letters,
Yep.
is IMAG. IMAG stands for image magnification. And I think many churches, if not most churches, have you seen, Brandon, any even small churches that aren't doing IMAG or words on the wall? Or?
I mean, little coffee shop, churches aren't doing a lot of media like that. But I
Right.
think that for the most part, any church with about 300 or 400 people or more are doing IMAG.
Right. There's a program called Pro Presenter that we use that minimally, even small churches are using that to put the words of the scriptures, the words of the songs, the worship songs up on the screen.
Yeah.
And then IMAG, like I said, stands for image magnification. And then many are putting like a single camera in the back of a room and shooting the pastor as he preaches so that you can kind of see the whites of his eyes, as they say. Now that works, and IMAG is wonderful for that, but the problem is a lot of people are taking their IMAG feed, which is usually very boring, as a single feed. Now, if I'm in a church, I can look at the IMAG feed, I can see the words, I can see the scriptures, but then I can divert my attention back to the pastor. I can look down at my Bible. I have other things to kind of keep me going during a service. An IMAG feed makes a terrible streaming feed. And I go into that, again, in this article. And if you want to do a decent streaming feed, you have to up your game to a second level. And in this article, it talks about the number of cameras. To do a good streaming, this usually requires 3 to 5 cameras with live camera operators, separate control room, director, blah, 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 blah. And like I said, I won't bore you. But if you're going to watch a stream at home or on your computer or on your phone, I do not want to just be staring at one single shot. I call that trying to watch the 7-Eleven security camera channel.
Yeah.
That just, I just can't do it.
There's a lot of churches doing that right
I know
now.
they are, and I
There's a
told
lot of
one pastor I wouldn't watch Jesus heal the blind man with one camera. I've got to, maybe it's my ADD or whatever, I've got to have different angles. So in an IMAG feed, it can be one camera. In a streaming feed, would you agree, 3 cameras, 4 cameras? And what do you do then for the audience watching in a stream?
Yeah, for a 3 or 4 camera shoot, I mean, it's great. What we normally do is the people in the room, your iMag feed should not be distracting.
Right.
It should be simple. It's mainly for the people in the back of the room that can't see the pastor.
Right.
And they want to see him close up just to kind of feel that connection. So in the room, you isolate one of your tight shots to the pastor. And while that shot is isolated, it's not distracting to the people in the room. You're cutting around for the people watching online. So
Right.
you're cutting from a head-to-toe shot to a tight shot to a side shot to all these different shots because it keeps it interesting for the people watching
Right.
online. While also, and you can do this with both. With this small switcher that's sitting right here in front of me, you can do this with. You can do both streams at one time.
Right.
So,
you can do iMag and streaming.
and streaming at the same time.
Now it makes it more complicated, and
You
a
have to
lot
have
of
someone that-
churches, as you know, are doing a switcher just for iMag and a switcher just for streaming.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's very, very high end. That's
Yeah.
very rare. The Gateway churches do that. The
Yeah.
First Baptist in Dallas does that.
I mean,
but that's not for everybody.
There's a lot of churches that are doing some really cool things with multi-site campuses where they're filming one service in their main location but have 50 other locations throughout
Right.
the country. And man, Gateway, for example, is doing an iMac. It's insane. They're sending a dual feed,
Right.
and they're sending it to their other campuses so people have live worship, but the message from Pastor Robert Morris is the same through all the campuses.
Right.
And so what they're doing is they're shooting a head-to-toe shot and a tight shot, and then when Pastor Robert's message comes up, one big large screen comes down in the middle, and that's the head-to-toe shot, and then on the side iMag shot, the side screens is a tight shot. And believe me, that every laugh is on cue,
Right.
every crying moment is on cue, every scripture is on, and it almost, I'm telling you, you're in this room and you're watching a head to toe in these 2 iMags like this.
In sync.
In sync. It is it tricks your brain into
Yes.
thinking that you're actually sitting in a real service with a real pastor there,
Right.
which is crazy. But that's, high level. I mean, you're talking $3, $4, $5 million just to get into something like that.
Right.
So
There is a church, I just called it up, go to the computer.
Mm-hmm.
There's one here in Riverside, you and I did some shooting for them called Sandals Church.
Yeah.
And they are kind of doing the same thing. They have a home church in Riverside,
Yeah.
but then you can see if we go to locations, which I just lost, here we go. There's locations. They have the mother church in Riverside, but then they send feeds to Banning, East Valley, Eastvale, Fresno, Hunter Park, Lake Arrowhead, Menifee, Palm Avenue, San Bernardino. So they kind of have church all over
yeah.
and connected electronically
Yeah.
through the media.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, definitely, that's high end. I mean, I think that one of the things that, with what's going on in our country and our world right now, the one thing that I wanted to come on and say to a lot of pastors is your church streaming sucks. And I want to give them some easy, quick tips. The other day I went on my Instagram account and told pastors, you can have bad video, but you cannot have bad audio.
Yeah.
And
Agreed.
people are doing their church services from their cell phones. They're doing it from everything. So let's give like top 5 little nuggets of wisdom on how to just go live tomorrow or right now or today. What do you need to do that?
Well, I would agree. You know, if you are stuck in that single camera mode, that's okay. Single camera does work. It's so easy though now to get an inexpensive switcher like this, a second camera, where you can at least go tight to wide. But what I agree with Brandon on, and this is one of the hardest things that churches really don't want to adopt, is a separate audio feed. So many churches are taking their audio right from their PA mix or their house mix, which is designed to feed speakers into the room.
Yeah.
But many times those feeds don't have the drums mic'd properly, they don't have the instruments mic'd properly.
Yeah.
You know, it can be a mess. The biggest thing is they don't have audience mics.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to send audience mics into the PA feed because you're going to have feedback.
Yeah.
So
That's one of your big things.
always, if you have a PA mix and a house mix, that's fine.
Yeah.
But then split that board to a separate board,
100%.
which is so much easier today through electronically, through Dante, through Cat5,
Ethernet is
and
so easy.
Ethernet. It's so easy to send a separate feed
Yeah.
to a separate board, and then that board will mix what goes to the media world.
To the streaming, to your
To streaming,
broadcast.
to broadcast, what have you. So churches, please do not just take a split feed off of your house board and call it a day.
Yeah.
It does not work. It works, but it is a poor compromise.
Yeah, 100%.
And so just know that there needs to be the media world and the PA world.
Yep.
And then that, like you said, you can get clean audio. You're not going to get the distortion issues and some of the things that we run into.
So that's tip number 1, have a mix for broadcast.
Yes.
Tip number 2, if you're recording with your cell phone or a DSLR or whatever it is, buy a microphone.
Good.
Invest in a microphone.
Yeah.
It is not okay to do this or to set your phone against the wall
Okay, I like it.
and have bad audio. You can, it's fine to have bad video, but
Right.
it is not okay to have bad audio. It's just not okay. It
Well,
doesn't fly. So
and
don't
now
have
to-
bad audio.
Well, and today, like you said, many times you're using the mic in your camera like this,
In your phone,
and that's 5 feet, 6 feet away,
too far away.
so you get the echoiness. What they're selling now for $100, $200 are Bluetooth
Yeah.
microphones that look like this.
And they go right into your lightning jack, and you just clip it right on,
Right.
and it's usable at the
Yeah.
very least. Okay, third tip is lighting.
Correct.
Video is only as good as the lighting.
Correct.
As the lighting director, talk about that.
Yeah, lighting is probably one of the most misunderstood things, especially in churches, because many churches that were built years ago were lit by theater companies or theatrical companies, and they would put in things called ellipsoidal lecos or theater lighting type things, and they would bring the angles of the lighting in at so steep that, again, to your naked eye, it doesn't bother you.
Yeah.
But if you're shooting the pastor right here, you know, many times I've seen pastors that look like Frankenstein.
Or raccoon eyes, we
You've
call
got
it.
the raccoon eyes, you've got the nose shadows, you've got some of the things that are not flattering, especially for women.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you've got steep lighting. In this studio, our lighting is at a low angle, filling
see
my
it right
face
there.
in. Huh?
You can see it right there. You
Yeah.
can see some of the lighting
Oh, up
there,
in the grid, yeah.
up in the grid.
So lighting is super important and something that's very much misunderstood in churches because they weren't lit as TV studios. They weren't designed as TV studios. So you want the angles of the lighting down low. You want the color temperature, which I won't bore you with right now. That's got to be properly set. Daylight, tungsten. Do you have windows in the church that you have to deal with?
Yeah.
But lighting is so important. The other thing that most churches don't have that's a pet peeve of mine is backlighting.
Yeah.
Is, you know, I actually have as many lights behind me on this set as I do in front of me.
Yep.
So backlighting, getting lighting on my head, my
Yeah.
shoulders, getting some separation from your pastor from the
Yeah.
back wall or the back screen
Yep.
is super
And
important.
a lot of churches will plaster their pastor right up against the back
Correct.
wall, you know, and there's no depth, there's no separation. It doesn't allow the camera to have what we call fall off, where the background kind of blurs out and you have that, the very buzzword is called bokeh.
Right.
You know, these cameras are nice enough, your DSLR camera, even your phone is nice enough to have a very nice blurry background.
Right.
And if your pastor's plastered up against the wall, there's no way you're going to achieve
Correct.
something like that.
Well, and like you said earlier, these cameras, you know, they're older, but they're HD broadcast cameras. The camera you're looking at me on was an $80,000 camera at one point when it was new with the lens.
4 now?
Well,
5?
value is whatever it is. The issue is, I don't care if you have a $100,000 Arri camera
Or
or
your
a cell
phone.
phone. If the lighting is not right,
Yep.
it's going to stink
Yeah.
one way or the other.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have a cell phone and good lighting than a $100,000 camera
Yeah.
with somebody that doesn't know lighting?
So pastor's sitting in his house because he's quarantined
Right.
and he wants to go live on his phone to Facebook. What's one tip? He has no lighting in his house. He has a phone and that's it. What would you tell him to do?
Well, a couple things, and that's where photographers usually make the best cinematographers because they understand lighting. You know, one would be get near a nice soft window.
So if I walked, let's put on a wide shot. We're on a wide shot. If I walked over here, you would tell me to get next to this window like this
Yeah,
and shoot with this nice soft lighting
nice
off this
coming,
window?
but not against the window, but
Okay.
use the light as a source.
Exactly.
Which
Is very easy. It's free. God provided the light, and you don't have to pay for lighting.
That's one. The other is lamps, using a soft lamp.
A practical.
And you know, a nice soft lamp with a big shade, which we call a large source, gives a nice soft look. And put it off camera to your right or to your left so it fills in your eyes, it fills in your face. And there's inexpensive ways to do that. In fact, I had a friend that had a grip and lighting truck. 80% of his stuff. Oh, are we going to
I can't switch and host at the
Oh,
same
and
time.
talk.
Sorry.
Oh, well,
That's why
it's
we
like
need
walking
crew.
and chewing gum at the
Exactly.
same time. But half of his lights were from Home Depot.
Yeah.
You know, but he knew how to use them. He knew how to bounce them into
Yeah.
a soft
Yeah.
card. He knew how to bounce them off the ceiling.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get good lighting.
Yeah.
And there's good tips and things on YouTube
100%.
and things that you can Google
Yeah.
as a media director or somebody that's involved. But have mercy on your pastor and your media folks because lighting is so important and so misunderstood.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So I think we've talked about a couple things for small churches, for pastors. One, what's funny is we're talking about church streaming and how your church streaming sucks, but we haven't really talked about cameras at all.
Right. Right.
What's funny is everybody thinks, oh, if I go buy this $100,000 camera, everything is, I'm golden. And I've had pastors do that. I've seen friends of mine go out and spend 20, 30 grand on a Red camera, but have no idea how to use it.
Right.
And the couple things we've talked about so far is audio. First and foremost is audio. Split your mix out. Have a dedicated broadcast mix for your people watching online. And two, have a microphone. If you're at home with a DSLR, buy a good microphone. Sennheiser makes great microphones.
Right.
Lectrosonics makes great microphones. Invest in microphones. And then two is just lighting. Your camera is only as good as the light that it sees.
Yeah.
So whether that's sunlight, natural light, whether it's studio lighting like we're under right now, spend money on lighting. I would much rather you light the scene well and shoot with a cheaper camera than have a more expensive camera and have bad lighting.
Yeah. And again, we're talking a little bit two worlds because there is the shooting at home world or you're shooting in your service or in your auditorium world. And you can do both. In fact, a lot of churches are still using their auditoriums, with a limited crew, kind of like you are doing, and still using the podium to preach from. And some, if you go to Hank and Brenda, go to this website. I help these folks. They're from Omaha, Nebraska, Hank and Brenda Kuhneman. They have a wonderful program that airs on Daystar called New Level. But they do a really good job with media. They do live streaming every Sunday. In fact, whoops.
Forward.
How do I go back?
Just press forward.
There we go. Oh, that was Sandals Church.
Forward.
Anyway, I went to a new screen. Come on back. Okay. I'll find it in a second. But they have, at any Sunday, 800, 1,000, 1,200 people in front of them.
Yeah.
But when the streaming comes on, not only are they welcoming the bodies in front of them, but they're welcoming their streaming audience. Mm-hmm. They say, welcome to you watching at home. And honestly, they'll have at times 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 watching live, and many churches even more. What would it cost to build an auditorium that held 10,000 people?
Right.
You're talking $50 million to build something. and you're reaching that same audience for a fraction.
Yeah.
And that's where media and streaming can be so powerful. When they do an offering, they look into the camera just like I'm doing. They take an offering with their and for their streaming audience.
Yeah.
When they do an altar call, they look at the camera and look and say, hey, if you want to give your heart to the Lord.
Yeah.
If they want prayer, they pray for those that are watching in.
100%.
So it's a natural connection and something that Hank and Brenda do very well.
There's a free tool for a lot of you church pastors out there. It's called the Church Platform, and it's over. It's one of these. No, it's one of these over here.
Wasn't it in history?
The Church Platform.
There. Is that it?
Yes. Okay. This is a free tool. Hey, tips and tricks. Pro tip for churches. This is a free tool, and if you go live to YouTube or whatever, you can embed your YouTube link into this free tool that allows commenting, prayers, donations. It's basically a skin around a YouTube link, and it provides the interaction, it provides the analytics, it provides live chat. I mean, just the synced viewing with people, so you're interacting with people as they're watching your live content, which is a great free tool. It's called the Church Platform. Mariners is using it, Elevation Church is using it, tons of different churches are using it. I would highly suggest all churches go and use this free tool. So just a little pro tip there. So
yeah, that's good.
I've talked about a lot of stuff. Any last minute words of wisdom?
No, I think, there is no substitute for experience. And so many churches that I've seen, there's a lot of nepotism in churches where it's the son-in-law or the son that's the media director, the media leader. Yeah. And listen, I was a product of nepotism. Brandon's a product of nepotism. There's 100%. Nothing wrong with that. But, a lot of times if you just put your son-in-law in as your media director, he'll learn it and do something, but he's not necessarily learning it the right way. Mm-hmm. So there is no substitute for reaching out to other companies like ourselves or other people that are doing a good streaming service, reaching out and cooperating with other churches. Even Hank and Brenda, when I go to Omaha, Nebraska, I've gone to 2 or 3 other churches while I'm there to help them with their streaming, with their media, because they're cooperating with each other. Yeah. So look at what you look at other churches' streams. Hillsong, for example, does an amazing job with streaming and with live music. I mean, if you ever watch some of their music and music videos, they have taken lighting and smoke and moving lights to a level that's unprecedented. Yeah. Other churches do a great job with broadcast TV. I think Joel Osteen does probably one of the best. It's a church service.
It's old school, but
a little old school for you. But technically, they do an amazing job of the way they shoot it, the way they light it, and the way it's presented. Because the third level, and I get into this in my article, we've got iMag we talked about, we've got streaming video that we talked about, but then the third level, which is kind of like streaming on steroids, is broadcast. And if you're going to take your stream to a broadcast level, it's like going from the minor leagues to the major leagues. Yeah. You've got to be concerned with camera balance, camera color, audio, like you said. Audio has to reach broadcast standards that are 100%. Getting harder and harder to attain because of loudness laws that have been put in place. Graphics have to be a big part of broadcast. So streaming is something you can watch on your phone, and it can have a few mistakes. The camera color doesn't have to be perfect. You go to a broadcast level, every camera has to be perfect, your audio has to be perfect, your focus has to be perfect, your lensing has to be perfect, because in the broadcast world, there's certain networks that if you don't do a good job, they will reject your show. Yeah. They will say, no, this does not meet our standards, and you will not, they won't air it. Yeah. So that's something that we won't touch on a lot here, but the broadcast level is truly kind of the major leagues when you get into production.
Yeah.
And that's when you've got to start thinking about camera movement, jibs, dollies, keeping the camera moving, audience shots, lighting your audience, commercials, keeping the program flowing in a broadcast type fashion. So, like I said, we could sit and talk about that for another 2 hours.
Yep.
But the issue now with social distancing, with the COVID-19 crisis that we're dealing with, churches have been thrown a curveball.
Yeah.
And there is help out there. There are people that can help you get online. That's part of what we've dedicated our lives and our company to. And I've been helping other churches quite a bit over the last few years. You have too, as a director. And we just want the gospel to get out. We want people to hear the good news of Jesus Christ. People are turning right now. Church, don't let this opportunity go by. People are looking to the church. They are looking to Christian television. They are looking to us right now in an unprecedented manner, in an unprecedented fashion. So we've got to be, we've got to be there for them. Yeah. And we've got to provide the tools to reach people that are hurting, people that are scared, people that need answers.
You're right. We are live directing our own show right now.
Is that it?
Because we have no crew. Yeah, I know 2 people that would love to help you make your church streaming not suck. So let's, why don't you go to our website?
Oh.
Go to pjvideo.com.
Okay, hold on.
And I'll show you. Here's a little sample reel of stuff that we've done. This was a video we shot a number of years ago with Hillsong, and some different videos that we've shot. You can see our reel on our website, but there's our website.
Yeah.
And go to get a quote in the upper right-hand corner. There's different services that we offer. There's some sample videos if you guys want some sample videos. But go to contact us or get a quote.
So about us?
To the right, it says get a quote.
Oh, okay, got it.
Far right.
Got it.
Just fill out that form. We'd love to help you out. We would love to, in this coronavirus, friends are calling me left and right for free advice. How do you do this? How do you do that? And we're happy to do that.
Sure.
But we're really happy to get involved, to consult, to tell you what gear you need to buy, how do we get from 0 to just walking or crawling?
Right.
And it really is a crawl, walk, run type of scenario.
Right.
So there's a lot of churches that are forced into streaming media right now, and we want to be a source that can help you out. So go to our website, pjvideo.com.
Yeah, go to the computer. Yep. That's on preview. So there's just get in touch with us. There's a phone number, there's this and that. In fact, my computer's about to die. But like I said, get in touch. There's some of our work, some of our spots, some of the things we've done over the years, and we want to be there for you, and we want the church to do the best video possible.
100%.
And that's what we're dedicating our lives to.
We're tired of seeing bad videos.
Yeah, we've got the experience. And we've got a heart for ministry.
Yeah.
And that's really the bottom line, to touch and affect people's lives.
Yeah.
And people are hurting right now.
Yeah.
So we want to be there for them and for you.
Yep.
So get in touch. Anything else?
No. Leave comments on social media and we'll respond.
Any comments here? Or?
Yeah, there's a bunch of comments, but we'll respond. We'll get in touch with you directly. Thank you guys for watching. Paul Crouch Jr., just look you up on social media, and then my name's Brandon Crouch. Look me up on social media. We're on Instagram and Snapchat and all that other stuff. So anyway,
good.
Anything else?
Good job. Oh wait, we can't shake hands.
Oh, we can't. Social distancing.
All right.
Here's our reel to leave you with, and if you have any questions, just hit us up directly. See you guys. Bye.